Here they think they got us. They don't have nothing.
So, babe, I was thinking we could go on our first real date.
Yeah, babe, we should do that.
How are you doing?
Happy Valentine's Day, sweetie. And you too, Mom.
I'm just gonna leave you two alone.
I'll call you.
Or no.
Oh, she's so sweet to the eye. She walk right by with her nose in the sky. She don't even know who I am. Got a two-piece.
Okay, where's the window?
2021 is in the offing, and KBC Channel 1 comes with good tidings for the new year. As we appreciate you and decide to put a big smile on your face with a New Year's gift. To participate, answer a simple question and send a short message as many times as possible. And you stand a chance to win 10,000 Kenya shillings as we usher in the new year. Send us the list of programs that air between 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Monday to Friday on KBC Channel 1. Send a short message to 0771 702 816 as many times as possible to stand a chance to win. Happy New Year from KBC Channel 1.
Well, a very good evening to you. Happy New Year 2021 as we await the new year. In about 3 hours' time, Kenya will be joining a number of cities in the world that have already crossed over to the new year, including Sydney as well as New Zealand. But in about 3 years, we shall be crossing over to the new year. Happy New Year 2021 to you. My name is Kiptum. This is Business Insight, a special edition. It shall be the last Business Insight bulletin of the year as we usher in the new year. We have a lot lined up for you, including how the year has been in the business world, a lot about the Communications Authority just releasing the ICT sector report, as well as President Uhuru Kenyatta's message to Kenyans in the new year. But first, here are the highlights.
In 2021, we will, as individual families and as a people, cast aside the shackles of 2020.
Curtains close on 2020. President Uhuru Kenyatta gives message of hope in his end-year message to Kenyans. Out with the old, in with the new. New Zealand and Australia become the first countries to usher in 2021 as New Year's Eve is marked with little festivities in Nairobi. And until we meet again, former Chief Justice Ivan Gicheru buried at a private ceremony in his current home. I am Betty Kiptum, and Lensa Odingo is my colleague on the sign language interpretation. Now, President Uhuru Kenyatta has delivered his New Year message to Kenyans, terming 2021 as a year of rebuilding the nation. The President, taking stock of the challenges in 2020 occasioned by the COVID-19 pandemic, called for concerted efforts in fighting the disease. Maintaining schools will reopen next week on Monday. On the political front, the President revisited the need for a constitutional review, adding it is a bold path that the country needs to take towards building unity, cohesion, inclusion, and prosperity.
We cannot wish away the woes of 2020. But if we change our perspective, there is no doubt that we can bounce back, and bounce back better. I know that we cannot reverse our losses, but we can rebuild what we had before the onset of COVID-19. Therefore, in the new year 2021, I urge every Kenyan to adjust their mindset and to embrace the spirit of renewal and hope. Possibilities, growth, as well as triumph. The proposed First Amendment to our Constitution in 2021, I believe, is a bold path that seeks to lay the foundation for a more just, more inclusive, more equitable, and more prosperous Kenya. As we close 2020, on behalf of a grateful nation, I wish to recognize and thank our medics, our healthcare workers, our security forces for their exemplary courage and sacrifice during the continued COVID-19 pandemic. Each and every...
Well, that was President Uhuru Kenyatta's message there to Kenyans, which he gave about an hour ago. We move on. The countdown to New Year's was a low-key event, unlike previous years, with little activity reported as COVID-19 restrictions curtailed gatherings and festivities synonymous with the day. This comes as New Zealand and Australia became the first countries in the world to usher in 2021 with fireworks displays amid a strict lockdown with no crowds allowed to gather. Safina Ching Ouma takes a look at the dampened New Year festivities as Kenyans prepare to usher in 2021 with the hope of a better year.
Mama Kimondo is a food vendor at Fig Tree area in Ngara. Ordinarily, she would be away on holiday, but this year she has been forced to work on New Year's Eve, hoping to earn an extra shilling.
Na 2020 kiliumana mbaya, hakuna biashara inaenda mzuri. Yule alikuwa akikuja kuchukua vikombe 10, anachukua 3, anachukua 2. Saa nyingine anakuambia umwandike. Na vile mmezoeana naye miaka, hutaki kumkatizia.
This year, she says, has been the worst for her business.
Kwa jini nilikuwa nikipika kilo 10, sasa ninapika kilo 7. Sasa unaona kilo 3 imeenda. Na makaa ile unatumia ni ile tu unatumia kwa kilo 10.
Her story mirrors that of Peter Karanja, a shoe shiner. For 10 years, this is what he has depended on to meet his daily needs. It was, however, not all rosy in 2020, and he almost gave up, opting to supplement his income by engaging in other odd jobs.
Nilikuwa nafunga hapa, natoka nje kwanza natafuta kibarua kidogo na huko nje kama siku 2, siku ya 3 narudi.
Their stories resonate with an opinion poll survey by Infotruck that revealed that a majority of Kenyans feel that 2020 was an extremely difficult year, singling out unemployment, high cost of living, and access to healthcare as the major challenges. However, Kenyans remain optimistic of better times in the year 2021.
Si mbaya sana juu niko uhai, tunapata chakula. Hata kama kuna wenye ambao wameenda, sisi Mungu amesimama na sisi.
Sioni kama hii mwaka imetupeleka mzuri, lakini tuna hope next year itakuwa sawa, at least kiasi watoto warudi shule, mabiashara ziamuke.
Meanwhile, the Inspector General of Police, Hilary Mutyambai, in a statement described 2020 as a year that brought the policing profession to uncharted waters of having to enforce health regulations alongside regular police operations. Mutyambai has since directed station commanders to ensure cells aren't congested to protect Kenyans from COVID-19. This comes as New Zealand and Australia became the first countries globally to mark New Year's. They welcomed the year 2021 with fireworks displays. Crowds were not allowed to gather on the city's harbour to enjoy the Sydney fireworks. For Channel 1 News, I'm Safin Acheng Oma.
And former Chief Justice Johnson Evan Gicheru was laid to rest at a private burial ceremony at his home in Karen, Nairobi. A cross-section of leaders paid glowing tribute to the late Gicheru at a requiem mass held at St. Francis ACK Church. He was eulogized as a strong defender of justice and an epitome of ethics and integrity. Sarafina Robi with the details of his final journey.
If we deny him, he will also deny us. The curtains came down on the year 2020, and with it family, friends and top government officials paid their last respects to the country's longest-serving Chief Justice, Gicheru, who served for 8 years. Those who gathered for his Requiem Mass will pay tribute to the late Chief Justice, with his family describing him as a loving, humble and staunch Christian with a strong foundation of good ethics.
He was understanding, a disciplinarian, though quick to correct and to rebuke.
He treated us, each one of us, as an individual and was actively involved in each of our lives without favoritism.
Guka was a loving father and a friend to each one of us. Even when he admonished us when we made mistakes, he did it with love.
It was a call that was repeated by friends and other mourners who all remembered him for his strong belief in integrity and push for the independence of the judiciary.
For many of us judges, we saw him as the untiring mentor to whom we looked up for guidance and inspiration.
He also believed that judicial independence included the independence of judges.
Personally, I will fondly remember his work ethics and miss his fatherly advice.
President Kenyatta, in his speech read by Attorney General Paul Kihara, hailed him for understanding the importance of an independent and corruption-free judiciary.
The late retired Chief Justice Gicheru knew the importance of having an effective, non-partisan and incorruptible judiciary.
Gicheru died aged 79 years on the 26th of December. Well, it is the hope of many that attended the Requiem Mass that some of the values and ethics held highly by the former Chief Justice Gicheru, such as integrity and the independence of the judiciary, continue to be held in high regard. Reporting for Channel 1 News from the St. Francis ACK Church in Karen, I'm Serafina Robbie.
Thank you, Serafina Robi, for that report. Now, as you all know, Kenyans have about 50 minutes or so to beat the curfew. And we just want to join our reporter, Timothy Kipnusu. He is in Langata. We would like to know, how are Kenyans ushering in the new year and what are their plans for the next few hours before we hit 2021? Kipnusu, what is the latest?
A very good evening to you, Betty Kiptum at the Broadcasting House. Yes, indeed, I'm coming to you live from Langata here in Nairobi, just to paint a picture of how Kenyans intend to usher in the year 2021, despite the fact that there is a curfew in place that bars them to continue merrymaking in different places. And I'm in one of the clubs, and there has been a lot of commotion, people trying to get out just to make sure they are at home, so that they cannot fall in the hands of the police, who are trying to ensure that there is actually security plan, ensuring people are going at their places before the curfew hours. And remember, this year 2021, it will be a different one altogether. People are going to usher in the new year while they are at home, because the curfew is in place, and a number of them are very disappointed because they cannot continue merrymaking and having a lot of elation to usher in the year 2021. Just to paint a picture, I'm joined by one gentleman. Just come closer here, talk to us. Come closer here. Yes, very good evening to you. Thanks so much for joining us in KBC Channel 1.
Yes,
how has been the year 2020, and how do you intend to usher in the year 2021, despite the fact there is a curfew?
It was a serious year because, as you see, the year has too much problem to us. Yeah, civil servant or whatever, and blah, 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 blah. We have too much bills to pay. So to us, it's worse. Yes, as that we asking Mr. President, can you place at home because we are asking ourselves. Yeah, we have a neighbor Tanzania. Currently, we are asking. So from March they are saying there's no corona. So up to now, so they could have half of the country they could have been killed by this pandemic. So
you have the idea that the curfew should not be in place, or what is your?
This curfew is for Mr. Uhuru and whatever. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, what is your 2021 resolution as we usher in the new year?
Okay, my solution I cannot.
Matarajio yako ni yapi?
Matarajio yangu ni ile. Okay, for my family, to cater my family, that's all. Because this government is not helping us at all. Yeah. Yes.
In terms of what? Because there are loans, the government has been actually ensuring that the business people are being helped in terms of loans, and also trying to curb the issue of the COVID-19 and stuff like that.
Right now, we are hearing the teachers. Right now, they are going to be cut 7.5. I don't know 7.5 about the salary. To be cut in the salary. So, what is that? Why don't the government, civil servant, to be cut that money? Yes.
Thank you so much. Lady, just come closer here. Mwaka 2020 umekuwa vipi kwako? Na pengine jina lako kwanza.
Sasa mimi nauzanga tu miraa, alafu lakini nimeona charges zenye nimeona hapana. Ningeomba tu, unajua miraa inakula watu wanachana kuanzia saa 2, saa 3, saa 4, saa 5. Lakini ile nimeona
zungumza.
Okay. Ile nimeona sijaiona. So ningeomba tu hata saa hii curfew ya 31st ningeomba twende tuombe ivike mpaka ndio unaona congestion ya watu. Ningeomba tu twende tuombe. Kitu ya kwanza mimi nataka maombi. Nimejionea makubwa. Mimi sikuwa na kitu, lakini nikaona Mungu ni mwema. Ile nimejionea.
Na sasa kwa hivyo wito wako kwa serikali kuhusiana na vile ufunguzi wa shule, naona kwamba baadhi ya Wakenya wamezungumzia kuhusiana na kutokubaliana na wito wa waziri Profesa Magoha.
Nasema aje, waziri yako sawa tu, lakini mtoto wangu wa class 8 walifungua mapema, lakini Mungu akanibariki nikapata pesa, lakini bado kuna charges. Kuna charges. So tufanye biashara zetu, lakini tuvalie mask. Si ndio? Na tukue na discipline. Unajua Kenyans hatuna discipline. Tuna ile kitu kupuuza ni mbaya sana. Kupuuza ndio mbaya. Lazima tuheshimu serikali. Hata si serikali wanatupenda, by the way, serikali inatupenda. So tuheshimu serikali, tujipende sisi kwanza, alafu tufanye nini?
Asante. There you have it. A number of Kenyans just giving their sentiments about how the year 2020 has been. It has been a hustle and the bustle, ups and down, because of the COVID-19 pandemic that struck the country early March this year. Remember also, as we are talking now, the COVID-19 pandemic positivity rate stands at 4.1%. And a number of Kenyans are passing on because of the pandemic. More than 1,700 Kenyans dying. And Betty Kiptum, you're also aware that this year was the worst year ever also for Kenyans. Kenyans were mourning the death of the second president of the Republic of Kenya, Daniel Toroitich arap Moi, and a number of legislators, 4 of them in number. And also, we also had a number of Kenyans complaining about the government continuing having the curfew in place. So it has been a tough year for Kenyans. The economy, tough economic times for them, and they're calling upon the government actually to ensure that the curfew is not in place, and of course also to ensure that the small business people actually they're given loans so that can boost their businesses. From me here at Langata in one of the clubs here, I hand you back to studio. My name is Timothy Kipnusu.
Thank you very much, Timothy Kipnusu. There are indeed quite some unprecedented festivities for Kenyans. They will not be able to, enjoy and usher in the new year as has been in the previous years. But of course, people need to keep safe, wear your mask, and ensure that you get home before that curfew. Now, the main reason for that curfew is, of course, the COVID-19 pandemic. And here is the update of where we are on that. The Director General of the World Health Organization, Tedros Adhanom, has called for unity in fighting the coronavirus pandemic as the new year approaches. In his new year message, Adhanom called on governments to increase investment in public health to prevent and respond to future pandemics. Adhanom spoke on a day that Kenya recorded 207 new COVID-19 cases and 3 COVID-19 related fatalities.
Kenya's COVID-19 positivity rate remained on a downward trend at 4.1%. This is after 207 new COVID-19 cases were recorded from a sample size of 4,988. The country's COVID-19 caseload now stands at 96,458, even as recoveries rose to 78,737 after 262 patients were discharged. Out of the 662 patients currently admitted in hospital, 28 are in the intensive care unit. The Ministry of Health says 3,024 patients are currently under home-based care. On Thursday, 3 more patients lost their lives, driving the total number of fatalities to 1,670. The latest statistics come in even as the World Health Organization called on governments across the world to increase investment in public health care. WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus said that making systems better is key in responding to future pandemics.
Going into 2021, we have a simple yet profound choice to make. Do we ignore the lessons of 2020 and allow insular, partisan approaches, conspiracy theories, and attacks on science to prevail, resulting in unnecessary sufferings to people's health and society at large? Or do we walk the last miles of this crisis together, helping each other along the way, from sharing vaccines fairly to offering accurate advice?
Nancy Okware, Channel 1 News.
To some political bit now, Deputy President William Ruto has urged his political allies to exercise restraint and respect the presidency. Ruto, who was in Msambweni, Kwale County, urged leaders to focus on uniting the nation.
Deputy President William Ruto wants his allies to refrain from attacking the presidency.
Mimi ninaelewa ya kwamba wengi wetu tumedhulumiwa. Tumefanyiwa maovu, mambo mengi yametendeka, lakini nawaomba kwa heshima ya kwamba tusiwakosee heshima wenzetu. Nataka tukubali ya kwamba kisasi inalipwa na Mungu.
Ruto, who spoke in Msambweni during the homecoming of the newly elected MP from Msambweni, urged politicians to unite the nation.
Nataka niwaombe muwe watulivu, tusameheane, tutafute njia ya kulete Wakenya wote pamoja.
Leaders accompanying the DP claiming the Msambweni by-election was an indication that Kenyans will not be coerced into electing leaders imposed on them.
Sasa Msambweni imeenda na hasla. Sasa mimi nimeona ya kwamba pia Kenya tukiamini Mungu na hawa mahasla wakaaji wa Msambweni na watu wa Kenya. Naona 2022 pia ni mwaka ya mahasla.
The leaders also took a swipe at the BBI report, urging Kenyans not to be duped into supporting the report.
Sisi hatuko tayari kama taifa kuona watoto wetu wamerudi shule tarehe 4 alafu tumeanza kuokota maiti za watoto wetu kwa sababu la janga ya corona. BBI can wait.
Meanwhile, Third Way Alliance Party has unveiled its deputy party leader Angela Mwikali as Miguna Miguna's running mate in the upcoming Nairobi by-elections.
Kama chama tunaamini Nairobi ikioza, basi nchi nzima imeoza.
The party urged the relevant authorities to facilitate Miguna Miguna's return to ensure smooth campaigns. For Channel 1 News, I'm Gladys Mongai.
Now, the Senate is set to be expanded and given more powers and functions if the Building Bridges Initiative report is adopted. The Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill proposes to enhance the oversight mandate of senators to enable scrutinize on-sourced county revenue, as well as the utilization of funds allocated to the devolved units by the national government. Kevin Washira with the details in our daily segment, The Constitution Review.
Among the key gains of the Senate in the Constitution Review being sponsored by the BBI Task Force is the oversight role on matters relating to all county revenues and expenditures. Clause 12 of the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2020 proposes to amend Article 96 of the Constitution to enhance the oversight role of the Senate. Currently, the Constitution mandates the Senate to only oversight the national revenue allocated to county governments and does not expressly extend such mandate to counties' own-sourced revenue. This is expected to enhance accountability of counties in matters public finance and enhance service delivery to Kenyans. The Constitution Amendment Bill 2020 also seeks to expand the membership of the Senate to help realize gender parity. Clause 14 of the bill proposes to amend Article 98 of the Constitution to have each county represented by a woman senator and a man senator elected by voters. Kevin Washira, Channel 1 News.
Now, the birth of a child is often welcomed with joy. So when Henry Waweru and his wife Ruth Wamboi gave birth to triplets, their joy was threefold. However, 3 months down the line, their joy is dampened by lack of adequate finances to cater for the needs of the triple blessings. The family says their source of livelihood has reduced owing to the COVID-19 disruptions. Jacqueline Wambiru with the details of why the family is cautiously celebrating the birth of the triplets.
At the heart of Nairage in Kare village in Narok East Sub-County is the home of Henry Waweru and his wife Ruth Wamboi. 3 months ago, the couple welcomed triplets, a boy and 2 girls. However, all has not been rosy after the family, who already have a 7-year-old daughter, increased their family size.
Sikuwa nimejipanga kupata watoto watatu. Nilikuwa natarajia my second born mmoja.
Running their retail shop and Sukumaiki vending business amid the pandemic has already put the family life at crossroads due to mega earnings.
Hii tuliongea na landlord akaweza kutulipisa pesa ambayo ni 2,500. Ni kwa ajili labda hata yeye aliangalia mangumu yenye tunaweza kuwa nayo.
According to the family, they are facing financial constraints and are struggling to feed the new additions to the family with their minimal wages.
Beleni tulipokuwa na first born, tulikuwa tunajikakamua na mzee, at least tuna supportiana, lakini kwa wakati huu sijui nitakaa kwa muda upi kwa nyumba kulea hawa watoto mpaka sasa wanifungue nianze biashara kiasi.
Waweru adding that the last 3 months have been difficult as the 3 require formula milk, which costs over 1,000 shillings, since the mother is not able to produce enough milk for the 3 to breastfeed exclusively.
Ningeomba nipate msaada kiasi kuhusu pampers na maziwa nani ndio inanikalia.
Kwa yule mtu ambaye atatutazama ama kwa wale watu wanaweza kuwa na tutazama na waguswe na Mungu, wanaweza kuwa na msaada wetu, tunaweza kufurahia.
The family is now appealing to well-wishers to come to their rescue and assist them in feeding and clothing their children. To reach the family with assistance, their phone number is 0720 01 8602. 0720 01 8602, account name Henry Waweru.
Well, if you can help that family, please do, so that they can feel the joy of having their triplets. Moving on, Stephen Kahuho is the lucky winner of a brand new Toyota Probox thanks to QuickBid. QuickBid is a reverse bidding product that gives users the opportunity to place online bids on products at 20 shillings. In reverse bidding, the lowest and unique bidder is considered the winner of the giveaway.
Stephen Kahuho has closed the year 2020 in style. The fruit vendor from Deyo, Kiambu County says he decided to try his luck after watching the show on KBC Channel 1.
Na nilikuwa na imani, hata sikuwa nafikiria mambo ya gari. Akili yangu ilikuwa kwa pikipiki. Ndio ni at least nifanye kazi kama ya bodaboda. Lakini Mungu naye akanisaidia, nikaendelea, nimebid mara mingi sana.
Quick bid is a reverse bidding product that gives users the opportunity to place online bids on products.
Toka siku hiyo nimepigiwa simu, silali. Yani mpaka nachoka na kitanda. Asubuhi yani mpaka nilikuwa nauliza nifike siku ya leo nikuje nichukue gari yangu.
We have been able to target the mashinani people. We have been able to target the low income earners. Wenye wamekuja wakanunua products na kwa pesa kidogo, bidhaa kwa pesa kidogo.
And as he goes home with a brand new car, Stephen Kahuho says he will keep bidding some more and hopes to win even bigger in the future. Yusufar, Channel 1 News.
And former Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission CEO Ezra Chiloba has been appointed to the Youth Enterprise Development Fund as a board member. Chiloba's appointment was announced by the ICT Cabinet Secretary Joe Gicheru in a Gazette notice. The former IEBC CEO sacked in 2018 over allegations of bringing the commission into disrepute and failure to answer to audit queries.
Ezra Chiloba is back in government. The former IEBC CEO has been appointed to the Youth Enterprise Development Fund board. Chiloba left IEBC in 2018, having been fired for failing to answer to audit queries, among other accusations. Before his dismissal, Chiloba had come under sharp criticism from a section of the political class over the conduct of the 2017 general election. Meanwhile, Garissa elders have hailed President Uhuru Kenyatta for his handling of Kenya's diplomatic spat with Somalia. Kenya and Somalia diplomatic relations have soared in recent weeks, with Mogadishu cutting ties with Nairobi.
Si vizuri uwe na khiari wakati wewe unataka kuchaguliwa. Kenya ni rafiki yako, kampeni yako. Kabla ya miaka 4 Kenya ilikuwa rafiki yako. Wa Somalia walikuwa wanawaambia mimi nimetolewa ofisi nikiwa prime minister na serikali ya Ethiopia. Kenya ndio mzuri. Mkutano yako, kampeni yako yote ilikuwa inafanyika Nairobi. Mimi sijui ni kitu gani kimebadilika. Kenya ni ile ile. Kenya si mchokozi. Kenya haingii nchi ya Somalia. Kenya haina njaa ya nchi, haina njaa ya ardhi. Kenya ina nchi ya kutosha na ina ardhi yake. Swali ni kama Kenya ni mbaya, umetumia mbinu gani, umefuata nidhamu gani kutoa ambassador yako Kenya na kufukuza ya Kenya?
Also, a non-government organization in Kisii has launched a campaign to sensitize the community on the need to develop a healthy attitude towards the elderly. The elderly in Kisii region have often been targeted by the community over alleged involvement in sorcery. In Nairobi County, the government of Saudi Arabia, through the King Salman Humanitarian Aid and Relief Center, has donated 6 metric tons of dates to be distributed to vulnerable Kenyans spread out in all the 47 counties. Elsewhere, a police officer who shot and killed a businessman in Gicheru has been detained as investigations on the incident get underway. Finally, the government has been challenged to closely monitor schools' preparedness and compliance to COVID-19 protocols ahead of the Monday reopening. Leaders say the inspection will help guarantee the safety of students and teachers.
Nauliza serikali saa hii watoto wetu wanarudi shule, waangaliwe vilivyo, wapatiwe barakoa. Ikiwa ni classes zetu zifanyiwe expansion, ndio tuwe na social distancing. Hatuwezi angalia tu watoto tuache teachers. Kwa hivyo lazima hata wao teachers waangaliwe na waangaliwe vilivyo.
Caroline Kamau reporting for Channel 1 News.
On 4th of February 2020, 18 years after retiring as Kenya's second president, Daniel Arap Moi passed on at the age of 95. It was also in this year that retired Catholic Archbishop Ndingi Mwana-Nzeki breathed his last. Kenya also lost 4 legislators and a governor. But the most devastating of tragedies of the year in Kenya was the landslide in West Pokot, where at least 24 people were killed and thousands left homeless. Timothy Kipnusu highlights some of the country's dark moments.
Soon after ushering in the new year 2020,
Kenyans were on the 4th of February sent into mourning after the Republic's second president Daniel Arap Moi passed on. He died at Nairobi Hospital where he had been admitted for 3 months following illness associated with old age. He died aged 95, 18 years after retiring as the country's longest president, having ruled for 24 years.
Nguruwe hujikanga na mafuta yake. Na Afrika itakwisha. Tulikuwa na bili ya kuleta Kenya Anti-Corruption Authority kwa bili. Ijapokuwa kuna mambo fulani ambayo mimi mwenyewe singetaka kukubali, lakini kwa sababu ya shida ya wananchi nikatupa kando principles hizo nilizokuwa nashikilia kwa manufaa ya shida ya wananchi.
His body was transferred to Parliament buildings where it lay in state for 3 days. President Uhuru Kenyatta led the nation in paying their last respect to the iconic leader. Thousands of Kenyans stand up to view the body as their queue snaked in its way from Parliament all the way to City Hall. On the third and final day, the viewing was extended by an hour as more people turned up to view the body.
Tuwa shure mini bahatika kukunywa maziwa yake. Ile kitu nakumbukaga sana, zio maziwa, ni ile packet ya maziwa. Nilikuwa naitumia na njia ingine kama kibeti. Sasa hiyo ni kitu mpaka wa leo nakumbuka.
Kenyans have braved the hot sun. The lines are very long because the president was able to hold this country for 24 years.
This was followed by a national memorial service held at the Nyayo National Stadium. Also well attended was his burial ceremony at his Sacho home in Baringo County. Another icon that the curtain came down on was retired Catholic Archbishop Ndingi Mwananzeki, who died on 30th of March 2020, aged 88 years, after a long illness. The late will be remembered for his relentless push for social justice and respect for African traditional values. As a man of the cloth, Ndingi Mwananzeki fearlessly spoke on critical matters affecting the country, such as ethnic clashes and HIV and AIDS pandemic.
A syllabus for priests remains. Problems don't mean we must abolish what we have held sacrosanct for so many centuries.
It is also this year 2020 that death robbed Kenyans of 4 legislators. Msambweni Member of Parliament Suleiman Dori passed on 9th March 2020 at Aga Khan Hospital in Mombasa, where he was receiving cancer treatment. In April, Mother Nature's wrath struck West Pokot County when torrential rains pounding parts of the country caused a massive landslide in Chesagon along the Elgeyo, Marakwet and West Pokot counties, leaving at least 24 people dead and several others missing. Over 1,000 people were left homeless as more than 100 houses were destroyed by the deluge. In November 2019, heavy rainfall triggered landslides and flooding in West Pokot, killing 54 people in Weiwei, Tapach and Batei. Matungu constituents were also bereaved after their Member of Parliament Justice Murunga died on 14th of November 2020 after developing breathing complications in Mumias. On December 4th, death claimed another legislator. James Lusweti Mukwe was the Member of Parliament for Kapchai after a long battle with arthritis. The Ford Kenya Party MP died at Nairobi Hostel, aged 59 years. 7 days later, even before his burial, Machakos County lost their Senator Boniface Mutinda Kabaka. Kabaka died on December 11th while recuperating after undergoing surgery at Nairobi Hostel. It is on the same day that the country lost former Cooperative Development Minister Joe Nyaga. Nyaga, who was one of the ODM Pentagon members, died aged 72 years. A week later, on 18 December 2020, Nyamira Governor John Obiero Nyangarama died at Nairobi Hostel while undergoing treatment at the intensive care unit. He died at the age of 74. Road accidents were also ominously present in the list of tragedies. In latest statistics released, over 3,600 people had lost their lives by mid-December, indicating an increase of 9.4% compared to a similar period last year. Timothy Kipnusu for Channel 1 News.
Let's now do the business. Kabarnet in Rift Valley has much to offer in terms of tourism, with its yet to be explored mountain sites ideal for both luxury and conference tourism activities. The town owes its reputation for great viewpoints to Tugen Hills. Kabarnet is a geographical feature in East Africa suited for hiking and mountain biking. Tonight on Magical Scenes, we highlight attractions in Kabarnet.
The viewpoint of Kabarnet is one of the highest altitudes, close to escarpments where visitors and tourists alike can view Kerio Valley.
Baringo is a land of diversity. There's diverse interests, there's diverse attractions, the beautiful rivers, the lakes.
As the tarmac road meanders up and downhill, one is afforded a magical view of spectacular natural landmarks, among them the Tugen Hills and Kerio Valley. Kerio River is at the lowest point of the Kerio Valley. According to folklore, long time ago, Tugen and Keyo communities were constantly embroiled in frequent boundary conflicts. This incensed Elat, a local god, that he struck the ground so hard, splitting the land into two, creating a boundary in the process to end the wrangles. The magically laid fault steps, steep escarpment facing the extensively acacia-covered vegetation creates a picturesque view of the vast barren land deep in the Rift Valley.
That's something that I would want everyone who gets an opportunity to come to this site to try and experience, because it gives you all the views, and you can even see the lake down, and it's an amazing experience.
We have the beautiful hornbill that chirps every morning. When you are at the balcony enjoying the fresh breeze, you'll see the hornbill coming around. And again, for us, this is a major attraction. The indigenous trees that you cannot find them anywhere else. And the history is as old as the place, as the trees, where you get trees over 200, 100 years old.
The visitors are highly encouraged to try an array of activities presented by the site, such as hiking, mountain biking, and cave sporting.
Now, in terms of conference, we cannot say percentage, but we are busy. We are doing big numbers, big groups, strictly adhering to the COVID-19 protocols.
The tourism industry is springing back to life. Hoteliers are also putting their best foot forward in ensuring you get the best holiday and getaway experience amid the COVID-19 pandemic. In your next vacation list, consider such a destination for an unforgettable experience. Irene Mchuma Odim Magical Sense at the Rift Valley Resort in the county of Baringo.
Quite a beautiful place Cabernet is now. Rising dependence on digital platforms for work, learning and healthcare, shopping as well as entertainment led to an increase in data and internet subscriptions by 4.8% during the first quarter of 2020-2021 to 43.5 million from 41.5 million. Latest data from the Communications Authority of Kenya further indicates that Kenyans made more calls to their kin abroad, with traffic originating from other countries increasing by 2.8% to stand at 135.8 million minutes, while traffic terminating to other countries grew by 3.4% to post 121.4 million minutes.
And for ICT services continues to rise owing to the COVID-19 pandemic. As at the end of 30th September 2020, the number of active mobile subscriptions stood at 59.8 million from 57 million subscriptions reported in June 2020. This translated to mobile penetration of 125.8% during the period under review. During the period under review, Kenyans increased their uptake of data and internet, resulting in a 4.8% increase to 43.5 million from 41.5 million subscriptions, with mobile data subscriptions accounting for 98.5% of the total subscriptions. Adoption of work from home strategies to curb the spread of COVID-19 led to a 7.7% rise in volume of mobile data consumed to a record 142,664 432 GB. During the period under review, the total local mobile traffic grew by 19.6% to stand at 18.2 billion from 15.2 billion minutes recorded last quarter, driven by promotions by mobile service providers that enabled prepaid subscribers to make discounted calls based on their minutes of use per day. Kenyans further made increased calls to and from their kin amid the pandemic that led to a 2.8% increase in traffic originating from other countries to stand at 135.8 million minutes, while traffic terminated to other countries grew by 3.4% to post 121.4 million units. Further, the values transacted on mobile money platforms continued to increase with the adoption of cashless payments aimed at curbing the spread of COVID-19. As at 30th September 2020, active mobile money transfer subscriptions and mobile money agents stood at 31.8 million and 245,124 respectively. The sector is held to remain resilient post-COVID. Regina Manyara reporting for Channel 1 Business.
We now take a quick short break. We'll be back with more news. Do stay with us.
Is in the offing, and KBC Channel 1 comes with good tidings for the new year, as we appreciate you and decide to put a big smile on your face with a New Year's gift. To participate, answer a simple question and send a short message as many times as possible, and you stand a chance to win 10,000 Kenya shillings as we usher in the new year. Send us the list of programs that air between 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Monday to Friday on KBC Channel 1. Send a short message to 0771 702-816 as many times as possible to stand a chance to win. Happy New Year from KBC Channel 1. On the next episode of
Kula brown. Nenda mimi na maji kule nje.
Vile brown unaenda kwa mzee Charo.
Wewe Masutu kamwona Mblau na kilala kwa Charo.
Si ulituambia?
Mimi.
Wewe.
Wapi?
Eleza vile wao wananyweshwa chai, wanakunywa chai.
Nani?
Vamo, tuambie vile wao wanajiunga kanga, alafu wana.
Do you have any idea what it's like picking up the man who calls himself your father at the police station? Hi.
Produce? Do you really come to church with me?
Who is this friend you've been spending all this time with?
Hey, Produce. Let's do a shopping cart.
I guess I just came to talk.
To me?
It's like I could use some of that magical happiness that you always seem to have.
Feel sorry for him?
No, I feel sorry for you.
Oh, yeah. This is incredible.
I haven't had much faith in anything in a long time. I love you so much, and I want you to have everything. You spend a second with this kid, and you realize he's just like you and me.
Simojifanya ni washindani. Ngoja siku ifike.
Mimi ni paka mwitu, nitakupa pura.
Ni usiku sasa, matatizo kuna nini?
Mtume! Nilikwambia wacha kuzungumza na mwanamke. She has no respect. Coming to my party. Wacha kunipiga? Nipige. Kuwa makini sana ule mke wako. La usivyo tukugharimu.
Mamako mwenyewe. Wewe usiniudhi. Sawa, wewe ulimwona mamangu?
Huwezi kunisaidia? Nenda zako. To you too. Cheers.
In 2021,
Welcome back. You are watching Business Insight. Now, a report on the state of corporate governance by the Capital Markets Authority indicates that a majority of listed firms recorded improved performance in corporate governance. On average, the companies scored 72% and on application of the Code of Corporate Governance Practices 2015, up from a 61% score in the previous year. While tracking performance so as to empower investors and respective boards to encourage continuous improvement in practices. 25 of the surveyed 48 companies achieved the highest level of corporate governance, up from 7 in the previous year. The second tier dropped from 17 to 11, while fair corporate governance was recorded for 8 issuers, down from 21. 4 issuers were ranked to need improvement. The report recommends that issuers should introduce integrated reporting as well as have robust internal control systems and risk management frameworks, owing to risks and opportunities of working from home. Of the 7 principles set out in the CG Code, commitment to good governance was ranked the highest, while all the other principles recorded improvements. The authority calls on issuers to focus on building trust and a culture of good governance, while emphasizing the importance of sustainability in all its business decisions and practices, noting the effects of COVID-19 on business operations. Betty Kiptum, Channel 1 Business. Mate resolved at a young age to be part of the solution to plastic pollution that has defaced the natural beauty once known as the city under the sun. That has earned her the prestigious 2020 UN Young Champions of the Earth Award, which incorporates funding and mentorship to spark growth of green startups. Take a look. be getting that story in a little bit, but we move on. Rage, politics and legal tussles over new reforms and regulations introduced by Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Peter Munya was a key highlight for the agriculture sector in 2020. New regulations for tea, coffee and sugar were attracting debate in support and opposing the new rules. Those in support said the new regulations were overdue and were bound to streamline the subsectors to the benefit of the entire value chain, while those opposing cited lack of stakeholder engagements and non-involvement of county government, despite agriculture being a devolved function. Benson Rioba highlights the new regulations as well as other agricultural issues in 2020.
After an outcry by smallholder tea farmers who market their produce through the Kenya Tea Development Agency over low bonus payout year in, year out, President Uhuru Kenyatta, in his State of the Nation address, directed the Ministry of Agriculture to institute reforms in the tea subsector to the benefit of, among others, farmers. President Kenyatta, in particular, wanted the operation and governance challenges, such as conflict of interest by the KTDA directors and lack of clarity in determination of dividend payouts addressed.
Directed the National Treasury, the Ministry of Trade and Industry, the Ministry of Agriculture, and the Attorney General to finalize and gazette the newly developed Tea Regulation 2019 within the next 2 weeks. These regulations include establishment of the Green Leaf Pricing Formula Committee to determine the formula for pricing of green leaf. Further, the establishment of a self-sustaining stabilization fund to cushion farmers against price fluctuations and ensure implementation of guaranteed minimum returns.
To this end, the Ministry of Agriculture kicked off the process of drafting new trade regulations for the value chain. The regulations were later complemented by the Tea Bill being signed into law by President Uhuru Kenyatta. Key among other policy changes will see tea factories receive proceeds of tea sales within 14 days of the auction and pay farmers 50% of the total sales within 30 days. In addition, management service fee is pegged at 1.5% of the total annual tea sales, with tenure of management agency agreement between KTDA and affiliated factories be for not more than 5 years.
Of brokerage fees from 1.5% of the value of tea sold to 0.7%, with the farmers paying 0.2% and buyers paying 0.55% respectively. Consequently, sale of tea by private treaty is outlawed. Any tea not sold at the auction shall be relisted for sale during the subsequent auction.
During the inception and debate of the tea bill and regulations, KTDA faulted the process, saying it was a private entity and not subject to direct scrutiny from the Agriculture Ministry, adding that the reforms would mean it will have to breach its contractual obligations to farmers.
One by one, then I can address them. Who are these cartels? What do they do in the value chain? If there are reforms to be done, we have no problem. But reforms must be done as an industry, not as individual companies, because the Companies Act is the one which determines how companies are run.
This would pit KTDA against CS Munya in what saw the tea agency successfully move to court to temporarily stop implementation of the new regulations until case filed in court are heard and determined. The same fate would be witnessed after CS Munya gazetted new sugar regulations 2020 in May. Governors from sugar-growing areas opposed the new rules on concern that counties were not involved in their drafting, despite agriculture being a devolved function.
Expression of interest on leasing of the state-owned sugar companies is suspended until all parties agree on the consultative process. This is very important because since we have traveled this journey together, of analyzing the sugar industry and agreeing on what needs to be done.
They would be backed by a section of lawmakers and some farmers' association, while the Ministry of Agriculture was supported by the Kenya National Alliance of Sugarcane Farmers Organizations.
As the cabinet already said, we write them off so that those who lease the sugar factories will not again be brought down by debts. So government is removing that burden so that the investors are now able to take over those factories.
Another storm in the sugar value chain was brewing and erupted when the Ministry of Agriculture kicked off the process of privatizing the 5 state-owned sugar millers, namely Chemelil, South Nyanza, Nzoia, Miwani and Muhoroni sugar mills, through leasing. There were murmurs as to why CS Munya had ditched privatization of the millers through the process that had been initiated by the Privatization Commission. And the government announced that 29 local and international companies had expressed interest in leasing 5 state-owned sugar factories. The affected factory workers successfully moved to court, seeking orders to have the leasing process suspended. In October, the High Court ruled that the application by the Kenya Union of Sugar Plantation and Allied Workers was urgent and issued an injunction temporarily stopping the process of leasing the 5 state-owned sugar companies. Similar legal tussles should be witnessed after the new Kenya Planters Cooperative Union KPCU was appointed to distribute the 3 billion shillings advance tariff fund to coffee farmers. 7 people moved to court in March, challenging appointment of the new KPCU to disburse the revolving fund when it also milled and marketed farmers' coffee. The Ministry of Agriculture also published new rules allowing coffee factories to register as autonomous societies, appoint their own millers as well as establishment of the Nairobi Coffee Exchange, and the banning of millers and coffee factories from lending farmers following the introduction of the revolving cherry fund.
Saying there is no way you can take assets ya wakulima uuse ulipe ndeni ambaye mkulima hajui ilitoka wapi. Kwa hivyo tunataka kupeana hiyo uwezo pale kwa factory. Ile inaitwa pulping factory. After all, at the society level, there is even no milling going on there. These reforms are intended, therefore, to spur back the sector and give back confidence to the farmer so that farmers can reinvest in coffee production to support our economy and also support livelihoods of farmers.
Technology also hit headlines in 2020 following commercialization of GMO cotton after the Ministry of Agriculture identified 1,000 farmers to start growing the first genetically modified cotton seeds that were resistant to the African bollworm pest.
Demonstration sites will be used for teaching farmers and extension service providers from all over the country. So that full commercialization will be done during the short rains, that is October, November.
Working closely with the respective county governments to identify farmers who will be given seed.
The government hopes to lure 200,000 farmers to grow GMO cotton by the year 2022. Kenya is banking on GMO cotton to grow production by reducing crop losses to insects and engaging more farmers, especially those in arid and semi-arid areas.
They will, to make apparel and textiles. They will continue making them, but the problem is that they will be importing fabric from China and therefore exporting jobs. That's why the revival of the growing of cotton is very important, so that now we can also make fabric here locally and therefore feed those factories that are making clothes that are open in this country.
Still on technology, Kenya moved ahead with plans and processes of licensing GMO maize. The Kenya Agricultural and Livestock Research Organization that is carrying out trials of GMO maize at its Kibos station in Kisumu County is hopeful that the government would allow commercialization of BT maize. If all goes as planned, Karo Director General Dr. Eliud Kireger said the GMO maize variety under trials in Kibos that is resistant to the destructive stem borer and fall armyworm could be commercialized in the year 2023.
It has been approved. We will produce the basic seed and give to Kenya Seed and other companies. They will multiply and sell it to farmers.
Calro believes that introduction of GMO maize variety would help Kenya boost production by about 40% that is believed to be lost to the stem borer and other pests. Still on pests, Kenya started the year battling invasion of desert locusts that will be controlled, then later re-emerged later in the year. The desert locust invasion from late 2019 spilled into the first half of 2020. The Food and Agriculture Organization said that the locust destroyed 7% of crop that would be harvested, and another 9% of pasture was also lost. FAO said the counties of Marsabit, Isiolo, and Samburu were the worst affected by the invasion early in the year. Several initiatives financed by the government and development partners were employed in fighting the desert locusts. In early December, the Kenyan coast would witness another desert locust invasion that affected the counties of Lamu, Tana River, Garissa, Taita Taveta, and Kilifi.
Shambani kwangu. Hata hivyo wanaendelea. Jana walikuwa kule msituni juu ya miti. Asubuhi napokuja shambani na kwa mengia shambani kwangu. wananiharibia mahindi yangu. Wasiwasi wangu ni kama chakula changu kitamalizika.
Tumeweza kuona maajabu ya panzi aina ya nzige, wameweza kuvamia, wamekuja. Tunaweza kuona wakifika shambani na wakaanza tayari kukula mimea.
This locust invasion caught many by surprise, with agencies saying insecurity in central Somalia, where Al-Shabaab militants are said to be in control, from where the pest originated, curtailed surveillance efforts. Other swarms were expected to cross into northern Kenya from Ethiopia, which also witnessed armed conflict in Tigray region that agencies said compromised monitoring of desert locusts that had been breeding in the area.
It was earlier projected that when the southerly winds start in December 2020, then we may experience a second wave of invasion.
Government officials were beaming with confidence that the locust would be contained, drawing lessons from the invasion earlier in the year.
What is happening on the ground? We have operational, of course, already officers working on the ground in order, of course, to inform us so that we can act on time. And that's why now we know exactly what is happening.
Monitoring agents say swarms from Ethiopia were likely to affect northern and central Kenya. Benson Rioba reporting for Channel 1, NDA Business.
Thank you, Rioba, for that detailed report on agriculture of 2020. Now to our earlier story, Nzambi Mate resolved at a young age to be part of the solution to plastic pollution that has defaced the natural beauty once known as the city under the sun. That has earned her the prestigious 2020 UN Young Champions of the Earth Award, which incorporates funding and mentorship to spur growth of green startups. Take a look.
2020 saw the merger process that will have seen Airtel and Telecom, Kenya's second and third largest telecoms companies respectively, merge operations, collapse.
Despite locust infestation in tens of counties, the year 2020 started on a high for Kenya. The National Treasury was bullish about economic growth this year, projecting at least a 6% expansion. This was despite desert locusts that were munching vegetation, including food crops and pasture, which threatened the agriculture sector. The desert locusts that were contained in mid-2020 would surprisingly re-emerge towards the end of the year. Officials said security situations in central Somalia that is believed to be under insurgents, as well as fighting in Tigray, Ethiopia, had compromised surveillance of the desert locusts. Swarms flew into coastal counties from Somalia early December, and officials said that the desert locusts would spread to central Kenya, while swarms that had been breeding in Ethiopia were likely to find their way to northern Kenya. The impact of the desert locusts would be dwarfed by COVID-19. Weeks before Kenya confirmed the first case of coronavirus, the economy was already feeling the impact of the virus. Import of some key industrial raw materials and some items had already started drying up as countries closed their borders and locked down certain regions in efforts to contain the spread of the virus or reduce imported infections. China was the first country to announce a lockdown, shutting Wuhan, which is home to about 11 million people and hosts 9 car factories. Siemens, Chinese smartphone maker Xiaomi, as well as travel, hotel and restaurant industries. Kenya confirmed the first case of coronavirus on 13th of March. 3 days later, the central bank announced the removal of charges on mobile money transfer for amounts of up to 1,000 shillings and waiver of charges on bank to mobile phone transactions from 16th of March in efforts to encourage Kenyans to embrace cashless transactions in efforts to contain the spread of coronavirus.
In order to avoid the risk of transmission through physical handling of money, we encourage the use of cashless transactions, such as mobile money, M-Pesa and otherwise.
Transfer of cash of up to 1,000 shillings would remain zero-rated until the end of 2020. This affected transactions worth 1.76 trillion shillings by end of September. This haunted Safaricom, that reported the first reduction in profits since 2011, with the telco blaming scrapping of charges on transfer that ate into the firm's M-Pesa earnings when it reported its first half results. In addition, the government in April introduced favorable tax measures to help cushion Kenyans against the adverse effects of coronavirus. Among the measures were a reduction of VAT from 16% to 14%, no income tax for those earning up to 24,000 shillings monthly, and suspension of the highest tax band of 30%. For businesses, turnover tax for small businesses was also reduced from 3% to 1%, while corporate tax was slashed from 30% to 25%.
That the National Treasury considers retaining the income tax rates pay as you earn at 25% until the 1st of January 2021. That to continue cushioning our micro, small and medium-sized enterprises, the National Treasury considers maintaining the reduction of the current turnover tax from 3% to 1% for all micro, small and medium-sized enterprises.
However, these came at a cost. The Kenya Revenue Authority missed its tax collection target by 186.3 billion shillings between March and November. KRA collected 1.09 trillion shillings against a target of 1.28 trillion shillings in the 8 months to November. 3 weeks after confirmation of the first case in Kenya would see more and more cases confirmed, which pushed the government on 6th of April to ban entry or exit via road, sea or air in the counties of Nairobi, Mombasa, Kilifi and Kwale.
There shall be cessation of all movement by road, rail or air in and out of A, the Nairobi metropolitan area, and B, the counties of Kilifi, Kwale, and Mombasa.
These nearly brought the tourism, aviation and transport industries to a stop. The restricted travel into and out of the 4 counties that lasted 3 months, coupled with a countrywide curfew, would see businesses reduce output. Hotels, tour firms and airlines were among the first to announce job cuts and salary reductions that would later become a norm for businesses in other sectors. Despite the chaos caused by coronavirus, the economy remained resilient, with officials projecting that the economy would grow 0.6% in 2020 on account of the negative impact of COVID-19.
This year we're looking at a growth of about 6% of GDP. But this will drastically drop to about 3 or even less. Economic growth for 2020 is projected at 0.6% in 2020 and 6.4% in 2021.
2020 would be remembered as the year when external shocks from the coronavirus pushed the economy to levels last witnessed before 2002. Betty Kiptum, Channel 1 News.
Well, we do apologize for that mix-up a little bit earlier. That was the roundup of how the economy performed in the year 2020. Now, the announcement that Airtel and Telecom Kenya would no longer pursue a deal to merge operations was perhaps the biggest news in the ICT sector. The two telcos had in 2019 announced the deal that would have seen the merger firm taking on market leader Safaricom. But in August this year, Airtel and Telecom Kenya announced that they had vacated the deal. Here are the highlights of these and other corporate news that shaped the local business landscape this past year.
2020 saw the merger process that will have seen Airtel and Telecom, Kenya's second and third largest telecoms companies respectively, merge operations collapse due to what the telco said were delays in the approval process. The two firms announced the proposed merger in February 2019, which will have seen them combine to build a formidable competitor to Safaricom, which is the market leader in voice, mobile money and data. Telecom CEO Mugo Kibati blamed the collapse in the deal to challenges experienced in getting all the approvals required to complete the transaction. Telecom disclosed that it will focus on revamping its data business in efforts to grow its revenues, while Airtel said it will concentrate on its network infrastructure that it had appointed telecommunications company Nokia to deploy high-speed 4G and 5G-ready hardware in Nairobi as the telco races to upscale its systems. The Airtel-Telecom deal had faced hurdles such as Safaricom that filed a court case to stop the merger on grounds that Telecom Kenya owed it over 1.2 billion shillings in interconnection fees and other charges. In addition, the EACC launched investigations on telecom for an alleged misuse of public funds.
To address what has been a dearth of connectivity for people across the country for many years, which I think we want to work towards eradicating. So you will find us in the obviously our basic service being connecting people. That will continue to be our major area of innovation and connecting people with better quality services, better value for money.
Still on telecom, Safaricom reported a first-half profit dip this year, the first since 2011, which the telco blames on conducive measures introduced by the government to enable Kenyans bear the impact of COVID-19. This included waivers on mobile money transfer charges on amounts of up to 1,000 shillings that was put in place in April to also encourage Kenyans to reduce physical transactions to help control the spread of the coronavirus. Safaricom's half-year net profit fell 6% to 33 billion shillings, with M-Pesa revenue reducing by 6.1 billion shillings, while income from betting saw a 700 million shillings drop. Safaricom said in the 6 months to the end of September 2020, M-Pesa transactions worth 1.76 trillion shillings had been zero-rated.
This year in particular, more than ever, we've had to show Safaricom's strength as a digital and technology service provider, because we become a lifeline for many Kenyans during this pandemic.
And in the banking sector, in March, the central bank announced measures that were to help Kenyans cope with the negative impact of COVID-19 pandemic.
With regard to enhancing the mobile money transactions. And this include, for instance, the elimination of charges on all transactions below 1,000 Kenya shillings. And as you know, a lot of our people make those transactions. And this is something that I think will be very useful also in the long run.
Among the measures was that banks offer borrowers an option to renegotiate their loan repayment periods and extend it up by 1 year. Borrowers took up this, with the central bank announcing in November that banks had restructured loans worth 1.38 trillion shillings, representing 46.5% of the total banking sector loan book, as part of relief measures passed on to borrowers over the COVID-19 related distresses. This loan repayment accommodation returned to haunt lenders, most of who either reported reduced profits or losses for their half-year or quarter 3. Lenders such as KCB, Equity, Cooperative Bank, ABSA and Stanchart posted double-digit declines in net profit as higher non-performing loans forced banks to increase loans provision, which ate into profitability. KCB recorded a 43% drop in net profit to 10.89 billion shillings during the first 9 months of 2020 as bad loans and loan loss provisions significantly increased. KCB's performance was adversely impacted by loan loss provisions that more than tripled to 20 billion shillings after non-performing loans more than doubled to 97 billion shillings. Equity Group recorded a 14% reduction in quarter 3 net profit to 15 billion shillings. The lender blamed the reduced profits to high operational costs, increased loan loss provisions, and poor performances of some of its subsidiaries. Equity increased its loan loss provisions 11-fold to 14.3 billion shillings to reflect increased non-performing loans. ABSA Kenya reported a 51% decline in net profit to 3 billion shillings as the lender's performance was impacted by a 147% growth in loan loss provisioning. ABSA Kenya said it had offered loan relief and restructures worth 62 billion shillings to customers, equivalent to 30% of loan portfolio. And the process of privatizing 5 state-owned sugar companies gathered steam and immediately ran into headwinds. The Ministry of Agriculture announced plans to lease the sugar factories, shortlisted interested farms, then drama began. 29 farms, including West Kenya Sugar Company, Sukari Industries, China CAMC Engineering Company, Shenzhen Start Instruments, Meta Group, Kibble Sugar, Butali Sugar Mills, Mini Bakeries, and Kogoro Food Complex applied to lease the state-owned sugar factories. But immediately the shortlisting was done, hurdles emerged.
For the governors, we represent the sugarcane farmers, and let them respect that whatever the cabinet secretary has done, he has done all the consultation with the sugarcane farmers, and the challenges that we're facing sugar sector Today, we are proud and happy that our local sugar factories are able to mill and sell their sugar.
First, it was the governors who said the county governments had not been involved in the process, despite agriculture being a devolved function. Then a section of farm associations successfully moved to court and obtained injunctions, stopping the process until the matter was heard and determined. Alan Auko, India Business.
Now, tourism was perhaps the most affected industry when COVID-19 struck. Hotels started receiving booking cancellations and rescheduling at the onset of 2020 as the virus spread to key source markets. When Kenya closed its borders in efforts to contain the spread of the virus, airlines were grounded, some hotels closed, while others were forced to convert their premises to isolation facilities. These would persist for at least 3 months, and the net effect was massive layoffs and deep salary cuts for those in the tourism value chain.
The period between January and March is regarded as the best time to visit safari destinations in Kenya due to the mild weather patterns, mostly dry and ideal for game viewing. It is considered ideal for those who want to avoid crowds associated with the peak season. However, 2020 was different. As coronavirus spread, countries responded by closing their borders and airspaces. This directly affected the local aviation and tourism industry that heavily relies on international travelers to stay afloat.
Hata tulikuwa hatuna haraka, tujajiprepare vizuri sababu ingekuwa ni season ya kawaida, ile wageni wanakuwa wengi hapa. Huwa tumejipanga kutoka asubuhi kabisa, tunatarajia tuko busy na kila kitu, lakini kwa saa hii sababu kabisa kutoka tufungue hakuna wageni.
Hotels, tour companies, airlines and others within the hospitality value chain had already started feeling the impact of COVID-19 in February and March. This worsened on 13th of March when Kenya confirmed the first case of coronavirus. The confirmation of more cases in days that followed would see the government on April 6th ban the movement in and out of Nairobi, Mombasa, Kilifi and Kwale in efforts to contain the spread of the virus within the country as well as infections from international travelers. What followed were a series of measures that changed the hospitality industry and travel too, as passenger airlines and vehicles remained grounded. The months of April, May and June were the worst for businesses that rely on customers from outside Kenya, such as tourism and aviation.
The issue is different. Nobody expects. The problem is a problem, okay, but we can solve. I'm positive we not in COVID. We pass this time.
Hotels and restaurants were closed as the government banned sit-in customers in hotels, allowing only takeaway services. Further, bars and entertainment parlors were required to shut their doors to discos.
This morning we're at the park because we're launching the virtual live stream, which is a project that we have begun to be able to showcase the destination, especially this time when people are not able to visit the destination. We have seen an opportunity where people are online and they're looking and thinking about places that they can go to. And that's a great opportunity for us to actually showcase the destination live. So we have begun the project and we are going to go to 16 different destinations where we will be showcasing different aspects of the destination, both in wildlife, in beach, in conservation, in community, and that will help people to have a taste of what is waiting for them once we are open for business.
They say necessity is a mother of invention, and the industry adopted various mechanisms to weather the storm, including virtual safaris to offer live game safaris streamed online.
Today we are starting with Nairobi National Park to do the virtual tour, safari tour, and also streaming live. I start as a Minister of Tourism and Wildlife. We have the Director General of the Kenya Wildlife Service and the people behind the conservation programs.
The hoteliers were not left behind. They defined their spaces, converting their rooms to meeting areas, all in bid to keep afloat.
We are not expecting the international market to pick up next year with campaigns, the year after, which is a year for elections. We are looking at domestic market.
In early December, Tourism Cabinet Secretary Najib Balala said tourist arrivals through all points of entry to Kenya dropped by 72% to 470,971 in the first 10 months to October, compared to 1.72 million arrivals in the same period in 2019. Balala blamed the massive reduction to a near total collapse of international arrivals between April and July due to travel restrictions, and then a slight improvement took place after the resumption of international flights in August. Despite this, the International Air Transport Association projects that the global passenger air traffic will recover to the pre-COVID traffic levels in 2024, a year later than previously projected.
Congratulations to Kenya Airport Authority and also congratulations to Kenya Airways, because everybody is gearing to take off.
The global passenger numbers are projected to increase 62% in 2021, but still will be about 30% lower than the pre-COVID times. Locally, airlines such as Kenya Airways were kept in the skies by cargo business, which saw the national carrier convert most of the then grounded passenger aircrafts to cargo carriers. In September, Jumbo Jet diversified from scheduled passenger flights to chartered flights, targeting business persons, families and groups that may be attending social events such as weddings, corporate meetings, missions and humanitarian deliveries. The new service is a revenue stream for Jumbo Jet and aims at addressing the shift in consumer needs, especially travelers who prefer privacy and convenience.
The pricing is determined by quite a number of variable factors, be it the distance, be it the market, be it the costings are different from across the board. So what we do is that once you have where you want to go, you will share that with us and we'll cost it for you.
AITA projects that African airlines would record revenue losses of $125 million and 36,800 job losses in 2020. To cushion local airlines and other hospitality industry players, the government offered a stimulus of $500 million shillings for post-corona recovery.
Charter is not a new thing in Kenya, and therefore we have already an existing market segment. Our objective is to come in and grow the business of charters. So we'll focus in the domestic, we'll look at regional.
While we can only hold our breath given that this is by far the worst year in the historical series of international tourism since 1950 and puts an abrupt end to a 10-year period of sustained growth since a 2009 financial crisis. A tourism CS Najib Balala says time is ripe for a change in tact. It is no longer about waiting for international visitors to come in for tourism to thrive. As a country, we must start appreciating the domestic market and offer them products that are right for them. Well, as you toss to a new year, be mindful of the health safety protocols.
Mine is Kenya, so warm and wild and free. You'll always stay with me here in my heart.
Happy New Year. I'm Regina Manyara, reporting for Channel 1 and Year in Review.
Let's now do the sports news. President Uhuru Kenyatta has signed the Anti-Doping Amendment Bill 2020 into law. The signing beats the 1st January 2021 deadline set to bar athletes from non-compliant countries from participating in international sporting competitions.
President Uhuru Kenyatta has today signed the Anti-Doping Amendment Bill 2020 into law. The new anti-doping law ensures the continued participation of Kenyan athletes in international competitions in line with the UNESCO Convention Against Doping in Sports. The new law amends the Anti-Doping Act of 2016 to align Kenya's legislative framework with the 2021 World Anti-Doping Code and regulations. The National Assembly passed the Anti-Doping Amendment Bill 2020 on 22nd of this month, while the Senate passed it on Tuesday before it was presented to the President for signing today, beating the 1st January 2021 deadline set to bar athletes from non-compliant countries from competing in international tournaments. A host of great Kenyan athletes have been banned in recent years for breaking the anti-doping laws, including Jemima Sumgong, Wilson Kipsang, Asbel Kiprop and Elijah Manangoi. The signing means that only clean Kenyan athletes will be allowed to compete in both local and international competitions, saving the country from a ban like Russia. Russia was banned from competing in the Olympics and World Championship for a period of 4 years, but was later reduced to 2 years after an appeal to the Court of Arbitration for Sports. It means Russian athletes allowed to compete will be individuals and will not be allowed to use their nation's flag and anthem for the next 2 years. The 2020 Tokyo Olympics will be held from the 23rd of July to 8th August 2021 in Japan, while the World Athletics Championship will be held in Eugene, Oregon, United States from the 15th to 24th of July 2022.
Well, it is on that sporty note that we end Channel 1 Business Insight this particular evening, the last day of the year 2020, as we usher in the new year 2021. Happy New Year to you. Allow me to just thank Lumbasio Holman. You say you are watching from Vihiga County, as well as Festus Koech. You say Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you too. Thank you very much for keeping us company. See you next year, and be sure to stay safe. My name is Betty Kiptum. Lensa Odingo has been my colleague on the sign language interpretation. We now join Yusuf Farah for the latest in the weather. Good night.
Good evening. 2020 has been quite the year as far as the weather is concerned. We have witnessed various cases of flooding, starting off with areas of Baringo right now. Let us show you images, the adverse effects of flooding that have been witnessed in Baringo. People have been forced to move so that they can escape the adverse effects. Moving on to the next place, this is Mandera, usually a dry place, but Mandera has also been hit by flooding, which has forced people to be rendered homeless. On to the coastal region as well, where people have been experiencing the adverse effects of flooding. Looking at images, their cars have been having a hard time wading through the floods, and this only goes to show that we need to be taking care of our environment so that we can avoid such incidences. Good evening. My name is Yusuf Farah. Welcome to Channel 1 with updates. Tonight, rainfall will be experienced in many parts of the country, with temperatures dropping to 11 degrees in Kericho and Eldoret, making it the coldest in the country tonight. As far as tomorrow is concerned, which is the first day of the year 2021, sunny intervals will be experienced in areas of Mandera. Garissa will be having partly cloudy conditions with sunny intervals. The coastal region, Mombasa, will wake up to showers accompanied by sunny intervals. The rest of the coastal region will be having sunny intervals. So a good time to go for the beach by a walk or a swim. In the afternoon, Kisumu, Kisii, Kericho and its environs will be having showers accompanied by thunderstorms. Remember to keep warm in that region. Your first day of the year will be quite rainy in the evening. The coastal region continues to be having sunny intervals, so you can go for a swim or a walk by the beach. Mandera will be having partly cloudy conditions with sunny intervals. Taking a look at the temperatures as far as the first day of 2021 is concerned, 35 highs of 35 in Lodwar and lows of 24. Marsabit highs of 25, lows of 18. Garissa highs of 33 and lows of 24. On that note, I complete your local weather focus. The international weather forecast is coming up in a bit. Remember to keep safe, wash your hands and maintain social distance. I will see you tomorrow, or if you like, I'll be seeing you next year. Good night.
Community College.